Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial on VLookup in Excel. VLookup is one of the most widely used functions in Microsoft Excel to perform analysis of data, calculation and data manipulation. So in this video, you will learn VLookup in detail. Let's straight jump into learning what is Excel VLookup. VLookup stands for vertical lookup. VLookup lets you search for specific information in your spreadsheet. It allows you to search for a particular value in a column and returns another value from a different column but of the same row. VLookup takes advantage of vertically aligned tables to quickly find data associated with the value the user enters. Now, let's look at the syntax to write a VLookup function. So VLookup takes 4 parameters or arguments. You can see it here. There are 4 arguments in the VLookup function. So the first argument is called the lookup value. The lookup value represents the value that you are searching for. Next is the table array. The table array represents 2 or more columns of information. The third argument is called the column index number. Now this represents the column number in the table from which the value must be returned. The first column is 1, the second column is 2 and so on. And then we have the fourth parameter which is called the range lookup. Now this parameter is optional. Now range lookup is used to find an exact match. So if you want to find an exact match, you need to enter false or 0. Meanwhile, if you want an approximate match, you need to enter true or 1.
If getting your learning started is half the battle, what if you could do that for free? Visit SkillUp by Simplilearn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
Now, let me give you a brief overview on what's going to be in our demo. So for our demonstration, we'll use a sales dataset. You can see the dataset on the left. Using this dataset, we'll understand how VLookup performs an exact and approximate match. We'll see how VLookup is case insensitive. Then we'll perform a wildcard character search. We'll understand how to handle errors when a match is not found. And finally, you will look at two-way lookups. Now here is a small example of how VLookup works. So we want to find the units sold by Morgan using the dataset on the left. So here you can see I have the dataset. It has some rows and columns. So these are the columns which are order date, region, there's a representative column, item, units, there's unit cost and total. And from this table I want to find the units that were sold by Morgan. Now if you look at the table, at the bottom you can see the representative name Morgan, and Morgan has sold 30 units. Now I want to find this value using the VLookup function. So here on the right you can see I have my lookup value which is Morgan, and this is my VLookup formula, and using this formula I am getting the result as 30. Now let's go to our Excel workbook and perform all the demos one by one. So this is my Excel workbook that we are going to use for our demo, and here is the dataset we'll be using. Now this is the same dataset that you saw a while ago. So this dataset has 7 columns. You have the order date, the region, representative's name, item, there's units, unit cost and total, which is basically the total or the amount of sales that was generated. Now we are going to use a chunk of this dataset and perform our VLookup analysis. So let's see our first example and the problem we have at hand. Let me go to the exact match tab. Alright, so here I'm going to use this chunk of data which is actually taken from the original dataset. So we have taken the first 11 rows from the dataset. You can see from row 2 till row 12 is going to be our dataset that we'll use. So we have a question here. We want to find the items sold by Thompson. So here Thompson is my lookup value, which means looking at Thompson I want to find the item that he sold. So if you consider our table here, you can see we have the representative's name Thompson right here, and from the table you can see Thompson sold pencil, and I want to get this value which is pencil using my VLookup function. So let's go ahead and write our VLookup function. I'll consider this as my lookup value, and here under item I'm going to write my VLookup formula. To write the VLookup formula, I'll write first equal to, and I'll write VLookup. Now if I hit tab, it will autocomplete. Alright, now let's give the parameters. So first is going to be the lookup value, which is nothing but Thompson. So I'll just select this cell, which is J17, comma. Now it's asking to give the table array. So the table array is the table from which you want to retrieve a value. One thing to keep in mind is that the value you are looking for should be the first column of a table, and you can select the table array till the end of the dataset or till the column which has the value you want to find. So here I'll select my table array starting from the representatives column till the end of the item column, which is going to be my table array. Then I'll select the column index number. So the column index number is based on the table array you have selected. In this case, my column index number is going to be 2 because we have selected just 2 columns, and the value which I am going to find is in the second column. So I'll give 2, comma. Now the range lookup I am going to give is false because I want to find an exact match. So either you can hit tab or you can write 0, which means false. If I close the bracket and hit enter, it will return me the item that Thompson had sold, which is pencil. You can verify from the table that Thompson had sold pencil. Alright. Now let's try to change the table array and see what result are we getting. So this time I'll slightly change the table array. So again we are trying to find the item that Thompson had sold. So I'll write my formula equal to VLookup. I'll hit tab to autocomplete. I'll give my lookup value as Thompson, comma. This time I'm choosing my table array starting from the representatives column till the end of the dataset, which is till P12. Again, my column index number is going to be 2 because if you consider this table array, the item column is the second column in the selected table array. So I'm going to write it as 2, comma. The range lookup I want to give as false because I want to find the exact match. If I close this and hit enter, you can see it has returned me the same result that we saw earlier. Now suppose, let's say this time I want to start my table array from the region column, which is this column. So I want to select my table array starting from the region column. Now this is going to show me an error because your table array should always start from the lookup value column. So if you consider Thompson as the lookup value, my table array should always start from the representatives column. So let's just try this example. So I'll write VLookup. My lookup value I'm going to give it as Thompson, comma. The table array, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to choose from the region column, and let's say I'll select till the item column, give another comma, and this time my column index number is going to be 3 because since the table array has 3 columns and my item column is the last column, so I'm going to give my column index number as 3, comma. I want to get the exact match, so I'll give 0. If I close the bracket and hit enter, you can see it has given me an error. Okay, now let me just show you another method to use VLookup in Excel. So here on the top you can see there's a formulas tab, and under formulas tab under function library you see we have an option to select lookup and reference. If I click on this and if I scroll down below, you can see there's an option called VLookup. Let's choose this. Alright, now here you can give your lookup value, your table array, column index number, and the range lookup under this function arguments dialog box. So here I want to select my lookup value as Thompson. My table array is going to be from the representatives column till, let's say, the end of the dataset. My column index number is going to be 2. I'll write 2, and range lookup I'll write as false because I want the exact match. Now if I hit OK, you can see it has given us the exact same result. So this is one of the other ways to use VLookup in Excel. Now let's move to the next sheet, which is regarding approximate match. Okay, so sometimes you might have cases where you don't have the lookup value present in the table. In those cases, you can tell VLookup to return an approximate match. Now one thing to keep in mind is that your lookup value column should always be sorted in ascending order while trying to get an approximate match. So here we are going to use this table, and my lookup value column, which is going to be the representatives column, is already sorted in ascending order. And let's see the question we have here. So I want to find the item sold and the unit cost for Matt. So my lookup value is going to be Matt. Now if you see this table, I don't have the representative's name Matt anywhere in the table. Now using an approximate match, I want to find the item and the unit cost. So let's do it. So here under item, I'll write my VLookup formula. So I'll type VLookup, I'll hit tab to complete it. And this time my lookup value is going to be Matt. So I'll select this cell, comma. My table array I'll select from the representatives column till the end of item column because I want to find the item value for Matt. I'll give a comma. My column index number as per the table array is going to be 2, comma. My range lookup this time I'm going to give is true or 1. So I'll write 1, close the bracket, hit enter. Alright, it has returned me binder was the item sold by Matt. Now let's try to figure out why VLookup returned binder as the item. Now let's say you were asked to insert the name Matt to the representative column in alphabetical order. So where would you place it? Ideally, you should place between Kivel and Morgan. Since this column is already sorted, Matt should appear before Morgan and after Kivel. So in an approximate match, VLookup will consider the previous highest value. In this case, the previous highest value before Matt is Kivel, and hence VLookup returned the corresponding item purchased by Kivel, which is binder. Now similarly, if you wanted to find the unit cost for Matt, again VLookup will return the unit cost of Kivel, which is 125. Let's just try it out. So I'll write VLookup. My lookup value is Matt, comma. My table array for this time is going to be from representatives column till the unit cost column I'll consider. I'll give a comma. Now the column index number as per the table array is going to be 4. I'll give another comma, and this time I'll double click true because I want an approximate match. If I close the bracket, hit enter, you can see it has returned me 125, which is actually Kivel's unit cost. Okay, we have another question, and this time I want to find the units sold by Rob. Now Rob is going to be my lookup value. If you see the representatives column, we don't have Rob. Now let's see what VLookup is going to return as the item for Rob. So I'll write VLookup. I'll give my lookup value as Rob, comma. My table array is going to start from the representatives column. I'll select till here. I'll give a comma. My column index number is 2. I'll give another comma. I'll double click on true. I close the bracket, hit enter. You can see VLookup has returned me pen. Now let's understand why VLookup returned pen for Rob. Now if you are asked to insert the representative's name Rob into this column, so ideally Rob would appear somewhere between Morgan and Sorvino, because since this is sorted in ascending order, Rob is actually greater than Morgan and is less than Sorvino. So as you know, VLookup in an approximate match returns the previous highest value, which is Morgan here, and the corresponding item for Morgan is pen, and hence VLookup returned pen for Rob. Alright, now moving to the next sheet, which is another property of VLookup, which tells VLookup always looks to the right. This means that your lookup value must always be on the left, and the value you are going to find out should always be to the right of the table. Now consider this scenario where your lookup value is on the left. In this case, it is the representative's value, and I have taken Sorvino for an example, and we want to find the order date for Sorvino. Now if you consider this table, your lookup value, which is Sorvino, is actually this column, the representatives column, and we are going to find out the order date. So your representative's name is on the right of the table and the value we are going to find out is on the left of the table. Now as per the property, VLookup only looks to the right. So if I use the VLookup function for this example here, I'll write VLookup. I'll give my lookup value as Sorvino, comma, my table array I'll consider from the order date because I want the order date till the representatives column. I'll give a comma, and this time my column index number is actually the first column if I consider my table array as the first 3 columns selected, and my range lookup is going to be false. If I close the bracket, hit enter, it returns me an error. The reason is VLookup always looks to the right, and this time the value we were trying to find out was to the left of the table. Now if you consider the opposite case, suppose you have the order date and you want to find the representative's name, you can do that easily because your lookup value, which is the order date, is on the left and your representatives column is on the right. So let's just try this. I'll write VLookup. My lookup value is going to be Sorvino's order date, so I'll select it from the table. I'll give a comma. My table array will start from the J column. Let's say I'll select the entire table, comma, and my column index number will be 3 if you consider these as my table array, comma, my range lookup is 0. If I close this, hit enter, you can see we have got Sorvino corresponding to the order date. Alright, now let's move to the next tab. Now this tab says VLookup returns only the first match. So we have a question at hand. The question is, find the units sold by Jardine. If you see this table, we have the representative's name Jardine twice. You see here, and if you look down, we have Jardine here as well. But the item sold by Jardine at the first instance is pencil, and at the second instance it's desk. Now as per the property, VLookup always returns the first match. Now ideally, when we write the VLookup function and look for the units sold by Jardine, you will see VLookup will return 36 instead of 3. Let's just try it out. I'll write the VLookup function. My lookup value is Jardine, comma, my table array I'll select from the representatives column till the end of units column. I'll give a comma. My column index number based on the table array is 3. I'll give another comma. Now I want the exact match, so I'll select 0, close the bracket and hit enter. Now as you can see, it returns me the first match of Jardine, which is 36. So VLookup did not consider the second match. Now similarly, if you consider this table, we have Jones repeated thrice. So you have Jones here, we have Jones here for the second time, and also we have Jones for the third time. And let's say you want to find the unit cost for Jones. So if I write the VLookup function, I'll consider my lookup value as Jones, comma, my table array I'll select from the representatives column till the end of unit cost column. I'll give a comma. Based on the table array, my unit cost column is at the 4th index, so I'll write 4, comma, the range lookup is 0. If I click on this and hit enter, you can see it here. VLookup has returned the first instance of Jones and it did not consider the second and the third instance. So our unit cost for Jones is 1.99 because VLookup only returns the first match. Okay, moving ahead to the next example we have here is VLookup is case insensitive. If you consider this table, I've added another row in green. So if you see here, I have a representative name called Gil, which is in proper case or popularly known as sentence case. Here I have added Gil's name in capital letters or all in uppercase. So I want to find the total revenue generated by GIL. The total revenue is basically the total column. Let's do it. I'll write VLookup. My lookup value is GIL, which is actually in uppercase. I'll consider my table array from the representatives column till the end of total column or the sales column. Based on this selection, my column index number is 5, comma, the range lookup is false. So I'll just double click on false. If I close the bracket, hit enter, you can see it here. Our VLookup function has returned the total as 539.73, which is actually the value for this row. So clearly VLookup did not consider GIL, which was present at the bottom of the table, in uppercase. So this shows that VLookup is clearly case insensitive. Alright, now moving to the next example. The VLookup function supports wildcards, which makes it possible to perform a partial match on a lookup value. For instance, you can use VLookup to retrieve values from a table after typing only part of a lookup value. To use wildcards with VLookup, you must specify the exact match by giving false or 0 for the last argument, that is range lookup. Now we have a question here. I want to know how much sales did the representative whose name starts with KI make. Now here sales represents the total column actually. So I want to find out the person whose name starts with KI. So if you consider the representative column, I have one representative whose name starts with KI, that is Kivel. So using KI as my lookup value, I want to find the total. So let me show you how to use wildcard characters and find the value using VLookup. So I'll write my function VLookup. Okay. Now in lookup value, I'll give KI. After that, I'm going to write ampersand followed by double inverted commas. Then I'm going to write a star and close the inverted comma. This means the value starts with KI, ampersand actually represents concatenation, and star represents anything followed by KI. So this is going to be my lookup value in total. I'll give a comma. Next, I'll select my table array starting from the representatives column till the end of total column because I want to find the sales. I'll give another comma. My column index number based on the table array we have selected is 5, comma, the range lookup is 0 because I want to find an exact match. I'll close the bracket, hit enter. You can see it here. VLookup has returned me 999.5, which is actually Kivel's total. Now there's another way to do it. Instead of selecting the cell in which we have the lookup value, I can directly write it in the VLookup function. So I'll write the VLookup function something like this. So my lookup value, I'll pass KI within double inverted commas because KI is a character value. So within double inverted commas, I'm writing KI followed by ampersand, which is for concatenation, followed by a star within double inverted commas. So this is going to be my lookup values. This in total means anything that appears after KI will be considered as the lookup value. Again, the table array I'll select as these rows and columns, comma, my column index number would be 5, comma, the range lookup is 0. If I close the bracket, hit enter, you see we have the same value. So this is another method or another way of using VLookups. Okay, now moving ahead, let's explore another feature of VLookup. So if the VLookup function cannot find a match, it returns a #NA error. Now if you want, you can use the if_NA function to replace the #NA error with a friendly message. So suppose you want to find the region in which an order was placed on 10th of May 2018. Now if the order date is not found, I want to return a message that is invalid date. So if you look at the order date column, we don't have any value for 10th of May 2015. You can see these values. We don't have any value corresponding to this date. So if my VLookup function cannot find this lookup value, I'll return invalid date. So let me show you how to write this. I'll type my VLookup function. I'll give my order date as 10th of May 2015 as my lookup value, and then I'll consider my table array starting from the order date column till the end of region column. I'll give another comma. My column index number would be 2 this time based on the table array we have selected, comma. I want an exact match. So I'll give 0, close the bracket and hit enter. There you go. It has returned me an error. Now I want to convert this error to a friendly message saying invalid date. So let me show you how to do it. I'll do it here. So to return a valid message, I'll use the ifNA function. And within ifNA function, I'll give my VLookup function. So let me type ifNA. I'll hit tab. Now for the value parameter, I'll use my VLookup function. So my lookup value is going to be the order date, comma. My table array I'll select from the order date column till the end of region column, comma. My column index number is going to be 2, comma. My range lookup is 0. I'll close the bracket, give another comma. Now if this expression results in an error, I want to display a message that is invalid date. So I'll put invalid date within double quotes since it is a text message. I close the bracket, hit enter. You can see the result, which is invalid date. Now moving on to the final section of the demo, we have two-way lookup. Now in the VLookup function, the column index parameter is normally hard-coded as a static number. However, you can also create a dynamic column index by using the match function to locate the right column. And this technique allows you to create a dynamic two-way lookup matching on both rows and columns. Now let me first show you how a match function works. So suppose I want to find the index where unit cost column is present. So here I'll use the match function. I'll give my lookup value as the unit cost column name, comma. Suppose I'll choose my lookup array starting from representatives column till the unit cost column, comma. I'll give my match type as 0 for exact match. If I close the bracket, hit enter, it returns me 4 because my array was selected from the representatives column till the unit cost column, and in this array unit cost is at the 4th index. Alright, now using this idea, let's solve the following problem. I want to find the cost of each item sold by Morgan. So let's write our VLookup formula. I'll write VLookup. My lookup value is J5, which has the representative's name as Morgan, comma. My table array I'll select from C2 till F12. I'll give a comma, and this time I know that my column index number is at 4, but I'll be using the match function to find the same. So I'll write match. My lookup value is unit cost, comma. My lookup array is from C1 till F1, comma. My match type is 0. I close this bracket, give another comma, and I'll give my range lookup as 0. Close the bracket, hit enter. You can see for Morgan the unit cost is 19.99. You can verify from the table. For Morgan the unit cost is 19.99. Alright, now we have another question here. I want to find how much sales did Andrews make in the central region. So here I have two lookup values. One is central, one is Andrews. Now looking at these two values, I want to find the total. To solve such problems, let me first create another table. I'll place the table somewhere here. Okay, so let me just paste the table here. Alright, now I'll create another column where I'll merge the values of region and representatives. So here, let me create another column. Okay, I'll just name this column as region rep. Alright, now this column, I'll use the concatenation operator. So I'll select East, use ampersand, and then select Jones. I'll hit enter. Now the same thing, I'll just duplicate it for the other rows as well. So I have my new column created. Now using this table, I can easily solve the problem. Now to find the total, I'll write my VLookup formula. So my lookup value will be a combination of J11 ampersand K11, comma, while table array will start from the region rep, which has the values of region and rep combined, till the last column, and from this table array my column index number is 5 and my range lookup is 0. If I close the bracket, hit enter, you can see for central region, which is this one, and for Andrew's representative, the total is 149.25. Alright, now we are done with our demo. Let's have a quick glance at what all we did in this demo. Okay, so first of all, we saw our dataset, which was a sales dataset that we used. Then we started with our first example to see how VLookup performs an exact match. We also saw how using the formulas tab and lookup and reference you can write VLookup in another way. So you can use the function arguments to give your VLookup parameters. Next, we saw how VLookup performs an approximate match. So we had mat and raw which were not present in the representatives column. After that, we saw an important property of VLookup, that is VLookup only looks to the right, followed by VLookup only returns the first match. Following which we saw that VLookup is case insensitive. So here we had added a new row where GIL was present in uppercase, but still VLookup found the total revenue for GIL which was in sentence case or proper case. Next, we saw how we can use wildcard characters to use VLookups, and here we saw how to use an if and a function along with VLookup, and finally we saw how to use two-way lookups. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video on VLookup in Excel. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, then please put them in the comment section. Thank you for watching and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.